What's up, guys? It's Isaiah from TCG Insights, and today we're going to be covering our very first post-rotation deck profile on the channel. So today I'm going to be going over Future Bots and how the deck is very good into the Nets format. Future Bots is one of the new archetypes coming out from Temporal Forces, with a lot of the new cards such as Iron Crown EX, Iron Leaves, Miraidon EX, Baby Miraidon, Reboot Pod. I am so hyped for this deck. Let's get right into it. So, first and foremost, we play 3 of the Baby Miraidon. Miraidon, first attack. For 1 colorless energy, it does 40 damage, and you accelerate 2 basic energy cards to your future Pokemon in any way you like. So that could be the active, the bench. And what you're trying to do with this deck is you're trying to set up for the first 2 turns with the Baby Miraidon. And you're taking these 1-price KOs while you're setting up these powerful attackers. Such as your Miraidon, Iron Boulder, Iron Hands, Iron Leaves. And even Mew EX can make its way, but you're not really using it. Second card we play is the Big Miraidon EX. Big Miraidon for 2 energy, lightning and psychic, does 60 damage, plus 100 more if the opponent's Pokemon has any damage counters on them. So it's a really good way to like clean up a nice 2-prizer that, you're dealing with the Baby Miraidon. Baby Miraidon, you can set up the math. Big Miraidon comes in, do 160, nice easy 2 prizes. Second attack, for a lightning, psychic colorless, 220, Pokemon can't attack during that turn. You might be thinking, 220, that's not really strong currently. Sounds like these Pokemon, they're not really doing a whole lot of damage. But here's where here's where Iron Crown EX comes into play. Iron Crown EX, one of the new cards from Temporal Forces, what it does, the ability increases all your future Pokemon besides Iron Crown EX is damaged by 20. So you're going to be thinking, oh wait, 20 damage, that's really relevant. And indeed you are right. So, that's kind of what you play it for. He sits on the bench, kind of like a bench warmer, in a sense where you're just increasing your damage. So you can one-shot Pokemon like Giratina V-Star, Lugia, any like 2-prizers that you're able to one-shot consistently now. And then for the next card, to play 2 copies of Iron Leaves. Iron Leaves is really good into Charizard because the current format in Japan, the meta is flooded with Charizard. This deck needs a way to one-shot a Charizard. The ability is, once you put it from your hand to your bench, you may move it into your active spot, and you may move as much energy as you want to it. So that's where you play the grass energy. You move the grass energy. You knock out a Charizard out of nowhere. You accelerate with the Miraidon. You're like, okay, let me accelerate a couple energy onto Miraidon, and then bench it, push it up, take the KO. So you play 2, just in case you prize 1, you discard 1. Iron Boulder. Iron Boulder is really good, I would say. A lot of people aren't playing this card, but I think it's really good for the mirror match. And it's also good into Arceus-based decks. Arceus Tina is seeing a lot more play, and I want this deck to beat Tina as much as I can. So I included this to give that nice little percentage increase in that matchup. But it's also surprisingly good in a mirror match, because if you knock out their Miraidon with the Iron Boulder and they don't have their own Iron Boulder or a way to respond KO your Iron Boulder, you're kind of just chilling at that point. For 2 fighting and a colorless, it does 200. And it's really nice, it's a really nice beat stick as well as the Miraidon. You may ask, oh, so why not just play the second Miraidon in order to just one-shot an Arceus, V-Star, Giratina V-Star, Palkia V-Star, etc., etc. The reason is that Iron Boulder, You one-shot an Iron Hands EX, which is seeing a lot more play, and you also are one-shotting, Arceuses without having an Iron Crown in play, just because of the weakness and all that. Iron Hands, EX, and Baby Iron Hands are your answers for Lost Bots. As many people may know, Iron Hands EX, amp you very much. 4 energy, 1 lightning, triple colorless, amp you very much. 120, you take an extra price if you, KO a Pokemon. Really strong in the format, especially with like Lost Zone decks. Even in the mirror match, if you could go amp on one of their Miraidon and they're not able to respond, and then you're able to just set up your Miraidon on the bench, like you're just chilling at that point. Arm press for double lightning and a colorless 160. Sometimes that may be better than using amp you very much in the mirror, because if you have like 3 Iron Crown in play and you don't want to attack with your Miraidon until late game, and you kind of just want to set it up, then that's fine. Then you also have the Baby Iron Hands for 2 lightning and a colorless. It does 80 plus 80 if your opponent's Pokemon is a V or a EX. So essentially, like, this is really good into like the one prize decks such as Lost Zone that they can't deal with 120 HP Pokemon. Cramorant doesn't knock it out. Sableye, they have to Sableye knock it out, or they have to use Roaring Moon and discard the Stadium to knock it out. And then at that point, you're winning the prize trade, because you're taking 1, they take 1, now you take 2. So then they have to respond with their own Roaring Moon again, or a Sableye, to take out the 2 prizer that you'll swing with on the following turn. Mew EX, it's there for the restart ability. Card's cool. Free retreat. And yeah, that's kind of the Pokemon. Now we're getting into the supporters. For Professor's Research, discard your hand, draw 7, self-explanatory. You want to go through your deck as much as you can. You want to be able to just set up all your attackers when you can. You just want to just set up. It's basically a setup deck. You want to swing quick, do as much as you can, and put an immense amount of pressure early on. Then you play 3 copies of Boss's Orders. I was debating about cutting the 4th research for the 4th Boss's Orders, because I always find while I'm playing this deck is I want to be able to boss consistently and take out the threats that my opponent's trying to set up and just feel in control of the game. That's where I think the deck lacks, is just being able to just go boss, 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 and take your 6 prizes as quick as you can. If a deck like Charizard or Chimpao or Goldango are able to out pressure you in that department, you're falling behind. And so that's where I wanted the 4th boss, but I couldn't justify cutting a research for a boss and for that reasoning alone, because the consistency of this deck is kind of sketchy as it is. But this list kind of provides as much consistency as it can get. Realistically, do you have to play the Iron Boulder with the Fighting Energy? You probably don't, but I just feel like the Iron Boulder provides so much more versatility to this deck. Sorry for the little rant, let's get into the rest of the supports. I played 2 Iono. Iono's really good. Just Disruption is very good in this current format. 2 Arven. So you may think, why are you playing Arven? Arven's very good because you can switch your deck for a item and a tool. You may be wondering what item you want to look for. You may want to find a Techno Radar, a Nest Ball, Hisuian Heavy Ball, Switch Cart, Truck and Shoes, Super Art, or even your Reboot Pod, or one of your 4 future booster capsules, or your one of 3 experience shares. Card's really good. I love Arven. Arven fits as a lot with this deck. Now getting into the search cards, I play 4 Techno Radar. The reason why I chose 4 Techno Radar instead of playing Ultra Ball is that Techno Radar searches for your whole deck besides the Mew, and you really don't want to be discarding a lot from your hand. You can afford to discard 1 card, but usually the cards in this deck and in your hand are very hard resources, such as discard willingly, unless if you're going for like a big research turn and just going for a big explosive. Alright, I want to dump this and draw. Techno Radar allows you to conserve some resources. As we're Ultra Ball, like, you're forced to discard 2 cards, which is harder with this deck than being able to discard 1. So that's the logic behind it. 3 Nuts Ball, again, more consistency. Being able to search your deck for any of your basic Pokemon, and you're not playing Evolution, so that's why there's a reason to play Ultra Ball. And yeah, just search your deck for a basic Pokemon. Every Pokemon in the deck is basic, self-explanatory. A Hisuian Heavy Ball. You may be wondering, why are you playing a Hisuian Heavy Ball, Isaiah? The reason is that a lot of lists that I've seen don't play the Hisuian Heavy Ball, but they play these one-of attackers where I just feel like if you play a Hisuian Heavy Ball, it fits as where, alright, if you prize this attacker but you're able to find your Hisuian Heavy Ball very quickly, it fits as that issue of prizing the one-of attackers. Sure, you may say, there's an argument for, okay, why would you play a Hisuian Heavy Ball when you just play more of this attacker? The reason is because you want to open Miraidon, because that's your best Pokemon, and you just don't want to see all these Pokemon in your hand early on. Trust me, play the deck, Hisuian Heavy Ball is goated. 2 Switch cards. Switch cards really good, being able to reset the attacks of Iron Boulder, Miraidon, and it's also really good into Lost Zone. That's in even Arceus decks that they have to Trinity Nova, and like they can't one-shot you. They like just force them into this like awkward position where they're like, I have to boss this, but I can't disrupt their hand, and I know they have essentially like what they need, and so it's really nice. And like you may be wondering, why not just play Switch? The 30 damage is like somewhat relevant. It's really like surprisingly, it's relevant into a lot of the one prize decks, such as Lost Zone, Ancient Bots, and like it kind of just forces them to like deal with a lot. It just puts a lot of pressure on against Lost Zone, particularly. Trekking Shoes, more consistency. Look at the top card of your deck, add it to your hand. If not this card, draw the next card. It's pretty good. Super Rod, Energy Recovery is really strong in this deck because you find yourself, you may have to discard a lot of energy early on. But the hindsight is that you can recover it with Super Rod. So essentially it's your kind of second reboot pod in that way where it's like, okay, I can Super Rod and then Miraidon. Take a turn to just accelerate with Miraidon, put some pressure, establish more energy in play. And it forces your opponent to, they're either knocking out the baby Miraidon or they're knocking out whatever you're accelerating onto. Then I played the 1 copy of Reboot Pod. It's the new Ace-Spec card for the deck. For each of your future Pokemon in play, you accelerate a basic energy from your discard and attach it to them. So you may be thinking, hold up, you have Super Rod. Why are you playing this? Reboot Pod is just, it's an item, and it's not your attack. It's not your attack for the turn, and it's just super good. It combos well with cards like Miraidon, Iron Leaves, Iron Handsets, the baby, and it's just really good. And then I played 2 Stadium cards. I played 2 copies of Town Store. You may be wondering, why are you playing stadiums in this format when there's no path to the peak? The reason is that I want to increase my odds of finding my EXP shares in future booster energy capsules as much as I can. Is 2 needed? Probably not. Is 1 needed? Sure, but it's just a personal preference where I want to just be able to bump my opponents, random Collapsed Stadium, Lost City, Artisan, and I just want to give myself as much outs to cards in my deck that I need. Now, we're going into the tools. I played the 4 Booster Energy capsules. Really good. It's essentially you're now playing 8 Iron Crown EX, and it's a free retreater. Great, and the Pokemon's attached to gets free retreat. Crazy, right? I know. Card's broken. I don't know why Pokemon would print it. But if you attach that to Miraidon, or any of your Pokemon, they're now doing 20 more damage. And essentially, that's 1 less Iron Crown that you need in play. It's just crazy how good the card is. But then you play 3 copies of You get speed share, more energy, recovery. You could have your attackers on a bench that you want set up to attack with. You play 3. There's an argument of you could just go to 2 and then play another super rod and then attack them right but like you kind of just don't want to do that, so just play the triple EX speed share. So essentially, you're playing like 5 copies of Reboot Pod in that sense, which is like crazy if you think about it. It's kind of crazy that you're essentially like almost playing 5 copies of one card because they effectively are doing the same thing for your deck. And then for the energies, you play 4 grass, 3 lightning, 2 psychic, 2 fighting. The reason why you're playing more grass is because Iron Leaves is more prevalent into the current format, because there's going to be much more Zard, and the Zard matchup for this deck is kind of sketchy as it is, but it's beatable. 3 lightning because you have the Miraidon EX, the Iron Hands, and the Baby Hands. 2 psychic. For the option to attack with Iron Crown, which sometimes does come up. It does 50 and 20 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, so it could set up some nice math. It could set up some damage as well. So it's kind of weird where you're thinking about it. It's like, okay, why would I use 3 energy to do 50 damage and then to 2 Pokemon? Think about it like this. Your Iron Crown negates the ability for Iron Crown negates itself for doing the plus 20, so you couldn't be doing 70 and then 40 to 2. Now essentially your Iron Crown is still getting some value because you're doing 50 and 20 to 2. So essentially that's one less Iron Crown that you need in play. Okay, that's actually crazy. The more I'm thinking about it, Iron Crown, when it attacks, it's not a bad attacker. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's what I have for today's video, guys. Future Bots, is this the deck that I'm gonna rock for Orlando? I don't know. This is like my first initial draft of it. I put like 1 or 2 games and I just felt like it was not a bad deck. Do you need an Iron Boulder? Probably not. You could honestly cut the Iron Boulder into 2 fighting for +1 psychic, +1 electric, so you have 4/4/3. Or you could cut a Town Store and just play 12 basic energy, which, like, I'm not opposed to, because you increase your chances of, like, finding the energy that you want, and now your energy management doesn't feel as bad. But, play the deck. Let me know in the comment section below how you guys like it. And always, guys, thank you for watching the channel. Peace.